What's up, guys? Farooqi Bros here, back with another video. And today for you guys, we're going to be talking about Blue Beetle. Just came out a few days ago at the box office. Not performing that great, but it didn't have great expectations to begin with, to be honest, based on box office projections. But we'll look at this movie from two angles. One will be us straight up reviewing it, giving our thoughts on the film. And the second is going to be the recent string of box office failures for DC, particularly in 2023. So let's get right into it and discuss Blue Beetle. So I'll give my thoughts first. I think the film was, it's interesting because DC coming into this year, we had Shazam, The Flash, Blue Beetle, now Aquaman, and it's really turning out to be one of the more lackluster years for DC, in my opinion, when you look at the totality of it. So when I say Blue Beetle is the best DC movie of 2023, that comes with a caveat that the DC hasn't been great in 2023. That being said, there are things about this movie that are quite good. I gave it 3 out of 5. I think it was enjoyable. I think the idea of family, putting this character at the heart of it, talking about Latin American culture, going into like this sense of bond, and I really like the way like the characters interact with each other. So there's good things about it. I mean, it reminds me of the first Shazam in the sense where it's very endearing, but it also has the shortcomings of the first Shazam, and I also compared it to Miss Marvel, which was very similar, where culturally you're deep diving into the Pakistani culture, but where this one is diving into Latin American culture. So, but then at times it can feel like a Power Rangers movie. It can feel like, well, not Power Rangers movie, a Power Rangers special. So you can feel a sense of like this cartooniness to everything that's going on. But that being said, this thing that I really liked about the movie, I think I like the Man of Steel reference in one of the fight scenes. I like the way the characters are. Some of the CGI was quite crisp towards the later portions of the movie. I just thought the first act was really poor. I think that really deterred the movie for me. It kind of picked itself up in the second and third act, particularly in that scene where Blue Beetle's father, spoiler alert, Blue Beetle's father dies. And that sequence, I think they actually did that with quite a bit of heart and without undercutting it with a joke. So I think that was a really good sign for the movie. It has ups and downs, but in a year where DC has had so many downs, I'll take the relative upside of Blue Beetle. Where it sits in the universe, it's your guess is as good as mine. James Gunn said the movie is technically not canon, but the character is going to be canon to the new universe. I don't know. That's a whole different discussion. But for me, 3.5 out of 5. Zion, what did you think about Blue Beetle?
I think I mostly agree with you. I know you use Power Rangers special in like a negative connotation, but I don't think I agree with that comparison, but I don't think it's a bad thing necessarily for this movie, because it's obvious what they're trying to do, and obviously the heart of the movie was about family and culture and how that plays into him being a superhero and it motivates him. So I think all that kind of worked the way it did it. It was obviously very campy and a lot of corny moments too, but I think it's just that family aspect of it. It works for the character and the story they're trying to tell. But like you said, those moments where it got serious, like when his dad died, or like when like clear like allegory of like police brutality, or like that kind of action against these immigrants, I think it was done well. And I think that shows that if they use this character and put him into a more serious situation, he will do very well. And I think the actor also does a great job in those moments. So I think potential wise, there is a lot they can do, and I do want to see him. I know we don't know what James Gunn is thinking. Sometimes he says one thing, it could be another thing, but I honestly do hope, at least if they do keep him as a singular character, I would like to see him going forward more in more like event type films or something like that. Maybe a serious story where like all the heroes come together. I think it really serve him well. As far as this movie itself, I thought it was all right as well. The action was fine. A lot of practical effects, which was really good to see as well. Not too much heavy or over CGI reliance, which was actually refreshing based on a lot of the recent things like The Flash, even, where it's just so much CGI, it's like you can't escape it, and it gets just kind of just Play-Doh and like claymation type CGI. I don't know what's going on, like rubbery CGI. So detached from that, I was glad to see that this movie didn't have too much of that. I agree that the first act was the weakest. basically, but that makes sense because it was just a lot of the setup, a lot of like the corniness, I think was really jam-packed in that first start of the movie. But then it got serious as it went on, and it kind of found like its place. I don't think it was. I thought it was all right. I actually didn't think it was that bad. I thought it was a good movie. It could be the best DC movie this year. I'm not sure. I did like the Flash's serious moments; they were very amazing as well. But I think as a whole, I would agree that's probably around 3.5 for me as well.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's better than the Flash just simply because I think you said this to me before, but the Flash had more expectations and it failed on those expectations. And I think the worst parts of the Flash are worse than the worst parts of Blue Beetle. So, and then the best parts of the Flash are probably better than the best parts of Blue Beetle. But I think standardized when you look at the whole film, I think Blue Beetle is just better made.
I think just based on that last shot being his tooth falling out and like that's it, like no explanation. His Ben Affleck Batman is gone, no care, no nothing. Just for that, Blue Beetle is better.
Yeah, I mean, and then just bringing AI Chris Reeve on the movie, and just none of it made sense to me. And just that, well, we could talk about the Flash for a long time, but I think it's a sad state of affairs for DC. Is basically what I'm getting at, and things have only gotten bad to worse. And this seems like this year, as the DC pretty much crumbles to the ground in terms of box office, and that's kind of where I want to bring Samir in. I mean, why, in your opinion, has the DC been flopping for like 7 movies straight now? Like, if you take out how come the Batman and Joker, these non-universe movies, each did $1.8 billion roughly? I think Batman was like 7 something, but then every DCEU movie is just like in the dirt. And technically, this movie could be DCEU depending how you see it. Why is it spiraling in your opinion?
I think the Joker and the Batman are just on another level of filmmaking. I mean, the DCU has no direction. They don't know what they're doing with the characters. So even when you try to market it as like the big universe film, then it's like a whole universe type thing, but it's not really happening because they have no idea what they're doing with the characters. And Blue Beetle, I mean, that was expected to do not so well just because it's such a character, like feels like such an unknown character compared to all the big names that they just sidelined for some reason. Even if it was a good movie, I feel like it would still do poorly just because of the character and the marketing. Pretty much it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna pull up this. Let me move the banner out. I'll pull up this image showing just the domestic totals from Discussing Film that dropped this morning, and I don't know about you guys, but I see a downward spiral here. Man of Steel, BVS, Suicide Squad, and Wonder Woman. You're seeing what is the beginning of a good universe, and in my opinion, Justice League is where the beginning of the end. Right? Justice League comes out, I think, irreversibly damages the DC brand. And then Aquaman, even though it only did 72 million, the reason Aquaman made $1 billion is it internationally became a crazy movie and just did crazy numbers around the world. So you can even say maybe that's an anomaly because when you look at the domestic totals, because after Aquaman,
even Black Adam's an anomaly because it only got 67 because of like The Rock. That's it. His presence alone was the only reason.
Hey, maybe you never know. Maybe him putting Superman out there so heavily maybe did dent the box office upwards in his direction. Maybe Henry Cavill's presence did have some effect after all. But then, of course, there's some like, okay, Wonder Woman making 16 million. That's a pandemic movie. Fine, that would have done better in the box office just strictly because it's Wonder Woman than 16. But Birds of Prey 34, Suicide Squad 26, Black Adam 67. Okay, that's not bad compared to the others, but not as good as what the original DC was. And then this year is just Shazam 30. The Flash 50, Blue Beetle 25. That's a downward spiral. And the reason behind that, I don't know. And that's I'm gonna jump to you because as the pressure on Superman Legacy begins to mount, what can DC do to fix this, or is it already over? Like,
the best thing they can do is just like that's it. Now, after Aquaman, I'm surprised not canceled. I'm glad it's not. I should come out, but I think just cut the cord. That's it. Like create the divide now, and they have to make a public statement that now we're starting fresh because there's so much. It's weird because for the public audience, do they really know or care about the news and what James Gunn is saying and like what's counted, what's not? Because the way it is that they're not cutting clean. They should really, if they want to start fresh, that's what they should do. But James Gunn's like, oh, this character's still here, or Amanda Waller or Peacemaker, this stuff we're still keeping from our old universe. It's like that kind of stuff will just keep holding it down forever. If they want to really start fresh, they have to go completely clean slate, brand new. And I think it won't hurt this performance. I don't think it's indicative of what Superman is going to be, because just character-wise, Superman is Superman. So I think that will really be the mark of, yeah, this is the start of the new DC and what new DC can be. And I think people are like, Blue Beetle, like Samir said, it is more of an obscure character as far as the mass audience is concerned. But I think now that kind of doesn't work as an excuse because of what Marvel has done with characters like Guardians and things like that, where F-tier characters were made to gigantic things. And I think DC was trying to capture that. They've been trying to capture that for so long. And it's been failing, but I don't think it's indicative of what the future of DC will be. I think it's more like in this middle ground before like the new era started. People are like, what interest is there to even come and watch the movie? And there really is none.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give my thoughts next. That, you know, like, my opinion from the beginning, I've been catching flack for this on Twitter also, where I keep saying, listen, start fresh is not that hard to just let it go. And this was a continuation of the topic that me and Samir talked about last week, because we were discussing Wonder Woman and kind of like just idea of like, well, she'll be in it, she won't be in it. I'm like, just say she won't be in it. I think people, if you just put it out there that this is the fresh start of DC, starting with Superman, we're starting fresh. It's going to be a brand new universe that, you know, you put Superman at the start of it. It's going to be good. But instead they're like, well, yeah, it's, you know, it's a new universe, but, you know, Blue Beetle's part of it and Gal Gadot might be part of it, but her movies don't count. She's there. And then, you know, we're going to keep Peacemaker, of course, you know, and then the Suicide Squad has to be part of it because Margot Robbie just made $1 billion with Barbie. She can't let go of the Harley Quinn role. And then all these different things, and people are going to be like, well, what are you watching? You know, so it's a mess. And when James Gunn first took over, there were these promises of the DCU being this like new universe, fresh vision. And even people who are kind of feeling down about letting go of the original cast, we're like, okay, at least it's the idea of starting fresh. But we're getting a mishmash, which is exactly what all of us on this stream said for weeks, for months actually now, that this is a horrible idea ever since Black Adam came out and they said they're starting fresh. And it looks like no one's heeding anyone's advice because we're heading into crazy territory. The question is, will Superman Legacy even do good at the box office? Like, Samir, put a number on it. Like, if you had to guess the box office, like how many, where are you putting it at, you know? I don't think it's even doing the Batman numbers, and that to me, as a huge Superman fan, I don't know.
I disagree. I think it would do the Batman numbers. Maybe not $1 billion, but
you're putting 700 on it.
Yeah, 700 maybe.
Just because let me bring this up again for you.
Just because the James Gunn fans will pull up for it, and when James Gunn announces it as if he's like starting fresh, even though he has like some things on the side happening with Peacemaker or whatever, then people will come for it, and it's Superman. So I feel like it'll do something, but not $1 billion, because then $1 billion would be crazy, but 700, 800, that's...
I think, and then let's look at the doomsday scenario, though. If Superman Legacy opens like The Flash did, right? And The Flash was pushing a lot. One of those trailers, the biggest criticism for The Flash marketing was what? That, oh, it's marketing like a Batman movie. And it still did those numbers. So let's say you're marketing with a Superman movie, you put it out there, and it does the Flash numbers. What if you're David Zaslav, Zion, what would you do at that point? You say that's it, it's over? Like,
then they're gonna know. They're gonna sell DC. That's it. 100% DC is gonna be put on the market saying Apple TV buy. You know, somebody buy it, because there's no way a character like Superman have to shell so much money into it, and they know this has to be their big hallmark project that brings them back to the light. If that fails, then the James Gunn experiment failed. You have to assume that nothing else will work. And the first thing Zaslav is going to do, if he himself doesn't get removed, they'll be like, let's put it on the market and see who's the highest bidder and get off our hands, because all it's doing is burning money and not getting any returns on it.
Yeah, my opinion is that in that scenario, I would not sell. So you're going to sell. I'm going fridge, like Harry Potter fridge. Like when Fantastic Beasts 3 ended, what did they with third one? Yeah, when the third movie ended, what did they do? It flopped. They were not like, we're greenlighting 4, we got to get through it. They said, that's it. Like, we're going to take like a 6-year gap and we'll come back with the HBO series.
It doesn't work for this.
No, you take by 6-year gap means a 6-year gap to the universes. You let Matt Reeves do his thing. That means the Batman trilogy still comes out like Christopher Nolan did his trilogy with no interruptions every few years. So you'll get, your little feeling of DC every few years, but the universe has to just be on the chill for a little while. And then maybe in like 2028, you come back, you're like, get a new guy, and you're like, oh, let's try it again with something. I don't know.
I feel like you just reboot. You can't suddenly reboot again, even if it's like a 4 or 5
years.
I don't think so. I think even if they don't sell DC, they might be like, let's sell individual rights to different characters.
Yeah, I mean, it's happened before. I mean, the closest comparison is like, I don't know, like Andrew Garfield. Like after Amazing Spider-Man 2, Kevin Feige had the full option to bring back Andrew and rope him into the universe. In fact, that was some of the rumors back in the day. I remember back in 2014, 2015, or 2015 when we were talking about Spider-Man being in the MCU. We're like, oh, well, you have to bring Andrew back. And then when the reality set in that they're not doing that, they're bringing a new actor. We were like, okay, that was, remember, 2014 is when Andrew Garfield's last movie came out, and 2016 is when they rebooted with Civil War, right? So it's only a 2-year gap. And then also with Superman Returns, 2006, there was all these promises that Superman Returns is going to launch a new trilogy, but the DC leadership at the time was like, whatever, it didn't work. And within 5 years, they restarted with Man of Steel. So I don't know. I mean, if Superman Legacy flops, it's really bad for Superman the most, because then I don't know when they would trust Superman to have his own solo movie again for a little bit. So I'm rooting for Superman Legacy strictly because I want to see Superman on screen. And to be fair, I think some of the pieces that James Gunn's working with does work. I think it's a lot of superheroes are being in this movie, but I do think that there's a chance it could be pretty fire. But I don't know if it's worth. Here's a third option. If it does like lukewarm numbers, then you let James Gunn still do a Superman trilogy while Matt Reeves is doing a Batman trilogy, but then no other movies come out, like no side character movies.
That would actually be a smart idea. Yeah, shelve everything else. Shelve all like the sub characters, side characters.
Which is bad, because DC is not just Superman and Batman, but unfortunately, if it means like restoring DC to what it used to be, you might have to go back to default and then slowly bring back another Wonder Woman or another something. I don't know. It's confusing. Samir, of the 3 options that you heard, if Superman Legacy flops, would you A, sell the DC into some other company like Apple or Universal, B, just let the Batman trilogy end by itself and reboot again down the line, or C, Superman Legacy has his own trilogy and then just cut the universe though? Let James Gunn do his thing, but that's it.
I feel like even though if it flops, I feel like they'll still let James Gunn try to continue cooking, because they'll be like, oh, it's still the damage from whatever else was happening previously. I feel like even if Superman does bad, they'll keep going till Batman and see what happens for that. But if they do decide to go in a different direction, they should just let Matt Reeves complete his trilogy and then decide from there.
Yeah,
that's the would be a good option, I feel like.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It's all looking pretty bad, but
I think they should give it a chance. They should give it the Batman Begins benefit of the doubt. Obviously, he's no Christopher Nolan, but Batman Begins million like 400,000, something like that. Like, it was pretty bad. Even though the numbers then were different, but they should give it that benefit of the doubt. Where, yeah, if it doesn't hit $1 billion, that should be like the perfect world, but it's not gonna. If it gets like 600 even, they should greenlight the second one and let him just go crazy. Give it a second chance to like
I agree.
Make the sequel bomb,
I agree also, but what is the floor? At what point you're like, we can't go with this? 300?
If it's below 500, then it's done. If it's 400 or lower, cancel it.
I think even 400 to let it go again. I think
no, that's too low. For Superman, that's too low.
Look, the Flash made like 200 million after like 3 months.
They made 250 on a 200 million budget.
Yeah, 200 million on a $200 million budget, and it had like 4 Superman, 5 Batman, 20.
No, it didn't have any Superman. And it had a Batman that nobody cares about.
I saw Nicolas Cage. I saw Supergirl. I saw all these different characters.
No, they weren't part of it. They weren't actually in the story.
No, Chris Reeve himself was in the movie for a few minutes and they couldn't bring people show up.
They weren't part of the story.
George Reeves, Christopher Reeve, CGI Henry Cavill, Nicolas Cage. At least I counted 4 Superman in that movie. I don't know. But DC, I don't know. Could be finished. Could not be finished. Depends. Is it finished, Samir? I think Marvel's finished too. So I think everything's finished.
Yeah, Marvel's
movies is finished in general too.
Samir loves Marvel. Samir loves current Marvel though.
I only watch cinema now.
I know, but I'm thinking about like the Marvel movies that came out this year. Like who's cooking right now? Like Guardians of the
You saw all of them, but I didn't see any.
I'm in.
No. Don't use Guardians as an example. Guardians is like the end of it all. That's like the tail end. That's like wrap it in a bow and that's it. MCU's done.
Well, that's what all the rumors for Secret Wars and Kang Dynasty is what they are. I mean, they say the Kang Dynasty movie is going to be like all the new Avengers, so all the characters they built in Disney Plus.
That whole idea is going to be scrapped because the actor's done.
No, they're going to do it because I think they're going to either recast or something. But they build it
after they already shot themselves in the foot by making the same actor all variants.
Yeah, but they're going to do some. They're going to find a way. They're going to just do a quick reset if they have to. What I'm saying is that's going to be that movie, and then Secret Wars is going to be your goodbye to all the legacy characters, like goodbye to all Fox X-Men, goodbye to Toby and Andrew one more time, goodbye to all these guys, and then you soft reboot the MCU, and then make it about Fantastic Four and X-Men only, and like let the Avengers all go into the wayside. That's pretty much what's going to be. But if anything, that's the real end of the MCU. MCU already kind of ended Endgame if you think about it, but it's really going to end at that point, in my opinion. Let's go to the comments quickly and see. The problem is that the DCEU, I still hate calling it that. It was never an official term. Go way back. That's true. The problems start like, listen, this is like the funny domino meme. I don't know if it's actually true or how much stock to put in it, but removing 30 minutes from BVS is how we got here, you know? Took 30 minutes out of that. And yes, the DCEU is not an official term. It was created by a journalist for Entertainment Weekly, and then just that's it, caught fire. I had a sneaking feeling that James Gunn is going to be reactionary as the old regime, and he has been pretty reactionary. It seems like where it's like, if you watch this intro video where he introduced the DCU, it's like the Flash is going to reset the DCU that kicks off into Blue Beetle, which is part of the DCU, and then Aquaman is going to tell the stories going forward. I'm like, what? And every single time a movie comes out, it's like, no, that's not part of our universe. We'll see. I think the closest thing to him being real was him saying that Blue Beetle, the movie, not canon, but Blue Beetle himself is canon. So if he shows up, he doesn't show up with his grandma or anything. He'll show up, you know? that's just how it's gonna be. I'm just saying that's how they're gonna pull him out. Like they don't like talk about the characters or history. I'm just saying that's how it's gonna be. And then Fatma jumps in saying that they won't really go ahead with anything under 400. The budget to make a loan is gonna be the bare minimum. Gunn is supposed to be the savior, and also people are getting tired and done with superhero movies. You know, even non-superhero movies doing well, just true. You know, this year has been the year of non-superhero movies, with Barbie making over $1 billion. Barbie is the highest grossing W movie ever now, I think.
Yeah.
Ever domestically, and about to catch Harry Potter for worldwide. Beat The Dark Knight, beat a lot of these big movies. That's crazy. And then Oppenheimer has 700 million, which is the highest ever for a biopic, and a rated R biopic, rather. I think.
You know, Delby's crying about that too. They would have had the two biggest films.
Yeah,
they let Nolan go.
It's crazy that those movies came out the same day, which shows that there's no such thing as box office like crowding when the movies are good. Like people will show up to both. Yeah, maybe Oppenheimer could have made $1 billion if it came out a few weeks after Barbie and they kind of let each other breathe. But the fact that it's 700 coming out the same day as Barbie shows that that's like where, you know, movies are headed, and people are not that interested in the same old, you know, again and again. Speaking of same old, let's talk about Star Wars and Disney Plus Star Wars in particular, because it's talking about Ahsoka and if it will live up to expectations. So the first episode of Star Wars, Ahsoka did come out. Not actually, it's not out yet. I think it's coming out next week, but on Tuesday. But Ziana and I had a chance to catch a couple of the episodes at an event last week. And I'm going to give my quick thoughts. The official embargo is not till next week, so we're going to kind of talk about this in a different way. My quick reaction, you see on Twitter, but it was basically that it was enjoyable. If you're a fan of Star Wars Rebels, you're going to really kind of enjoy kind of what is a continuation series. I think some of the writing is incredibly stiff, which is sad because I think Dave Filoni is a mastermind when it comes to animation. But when you put him in the live action seat, I'm not sure it's completely translated on these characters. Some of the acting is a little stiff as well. I don't know. I feel like it took me a bit to, you know, for both Sabine and Hera from Star Wars Rebels, it took me a bit to fully grasp like that they are the animated counterparts. That kind of seem a little different, but that does not apply to Rosario Dawson. I feel like she did fall into the role. I feel like she plays the Rebels Ahsoka quite well. Like the person we saw in the Rebels, I feel like she plays that well, and I think she's a good cast. I'm not sure what else I'm seeing right now, but it's all right. We'll get more into the weeds of it in a spoiler review next week. But there's been clips online that they've officially released, so we can talk about that. They'll never beat the concrete color grading allegations, unfortunately, because it doesn't look that great. But It's better than Mandalorian season 3, and it's better than Book of Boba Fett. So I don't know if that's saying anything, but Zion, tell me what you're saying about it.
I kind of agree. It really, really is for the Star Wars Rebels fans. As the first 2 episodes, I think it was kind of boring in a way. I mean, they didn't really do much. Like, you'd expect them to really kick off strong, but they kind of were pretty tame with it. And they did throw some references stuff there. I know we can't get into it yet, but there's some stuff that, it's cool to see where they're going to go with it or what's going to happen next. But there's a lot of teasing in the first 2 episodes where I'm more like, all right, let's just get to it now. Like, who cares? Like, it's been teasing too long now. And some of the casting, I think not even just those 2, but also one of the casting, I think was just a complete miss. And I know if people see it when the episode comes out.
I'm not sure who you're talking about. Yeah. That was the trailer you talk about. That was in the trailer.
In the trailer?
Yeah, it was in the trailer.
I never saw it, so I don't know.
It was. Yeah, you talking about Ezra? He's in the trailer.
Yeah, Ezra. I think he was like pretty miscast. I mean, I don't know who edged up his hair, but like he had like a geometry thing going on his hairline, and I'm like, yo, who gave him this cut? And also he had like such broad shoulders from the back. I'm like, this guy's supposed to be like a teenager, maybe like 17, 18, 19 max. He's like looking like a 35-year-old guy. So I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what they're thinking.
They completely misunderstood the assignment because the guy from Aladdin, he was campaigning for that role. We all thought he was the guy
role to lose, and they didn't give it to him. Like
and you know what he said? They didn't even offer him an audition. Like that was the role. Like he's in the Disney family. Just let him be Ezra.
And he would have pulled it off. He could have done it, but they dropped the ball on that. So I mean, I'm just excited to see where it will go. As far as these first 2 episodes, it was pretty tame.
Samir, did you watch Star Wars Rebels, or did you get into that side of the fence? The TV show from like 5 years ago.
No, I didn't. But I saw a clip of AHSOKA on Twitter, and it was it looked pretty flat. Obviously, the color grading was also flat and kind of grayish. I mean, the color grading was so bad and unsaturated that you couldn't even see AHSOKA's lightsaber against the background because it was white, and that was like a real problem from just the clip alone.
Yeah,
I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what they're cooking with that.
I mean,
they got like up the contrast a little bit on the backgrounds.
My thing is just like also someone put on Twitter like the way that the lightsabers move are so bad now, like compared to how it used to be. Like you don't feel the burn of the lightsaber. You don't feel it. Just feels like a light sword.
Yeah, it feels like a stick, like a rod, it's not fluid,
Yeah, and look, anytime I do like Filoni's quieter moments, like when Ahsoka is just pondering or thinking, and then the score tell you the story and let her visuals, like her mindset and facial structure tell you the story, face tell you the story. But it's like, I don't know, like I feel like it's Filoni's own expectations that he's put on us from Clone Wars, particularly that final Clone Wars epilogue special. I was like, I'm expecting that. And if I don't get that, then I don't know if it's Filoni being like held back or something else going on, but I'm expecting that level of greatness. And someone in the comment, Ray Stevenson passed away. He's probably the best actor in that first 2 episodes. Like it's not even close. I was like,
true. Yeah.
I was like, it was every time he showed up on the screen, I'm like, I'm kind of interested in what this guy is, and I hope the series goes in a way where we get to talk about his past and what he is, because
they kind of mentioned like I liked his lines and I liked the stuff he was kind of alluding to. Like it was good.
Yeah. And it's listen, there's something in the trailers from him. It's like we usually talk about it, but his lines when he's Ahsoka and he's gonna talk to Ahsoka that, oh yeah, like we all know who Anakin was, but you like that's sick. Like I want to see that stuff happen. Then again,
I thought this was gonna happen in the first 2 episodes, but I was like,
I was expecting him.
I hope for too much.
That's Paul Star. I was hoping for too much, and that's me. I'm gonna jump to you now because Disney plus Star Wars. I mean, I don't know. Like, is it even working, the experiment? But I feel like Mandalorian season 1 was good, and someone put it up. Greg Fraser, like this is the cinematographer for the Batman for Rogue One, and he took care of Mandalorian season 1, and it looked good. And since then, it's been diminishing returns, and the shows are looking worse and worse. Do you think that we should just shut the door on Disney plus Star Wars and let's keep it theatrical? Or do you think let's make the shows better?
The shows, I mean, it extends past Star Wars. I feel like just the Disney Plus limited series thing that they've been trying to do with the Disney Plus streaming service when they launched it. I feel like overall the bad outweighs the good by so much. And for Star Wars in particular, I mean, they've had like one good show, right? They've had like one good season.
It's literally one good. So really, Andor is the only thing that's actually objectively good.
Right.
And then Mandalorian
one season of Mandalorian.
Yeah.
And Obi-Wan was bad, and everything else Book of Boba Fett, not that good. I feel like the way to go now is just to move to theatrical, but then where do you even go from there? I feel like they'll just milk everything theatrical to the movies still streaming. I mean, it's Disney, so they'll have to milk everything. But maybe they'll have some good ones if they go theatrical.
Look, the thing is, people are just expecting more now. There's been a whole debate on social media, I think it was worth getting into, about this one journalist, it's like, by journalist I use it loosely, it's like one of the people who are like really fanboys of Disney and Star Wars, and then they're going to just like make a point. They're like, well, if you're too highbrow and you only like Andor, then you're going to hate this. I'm like, if you look at the difference, like, of writing, of practical sets, of like how they made Andor, like, I don't know how they got away with it. Maybe because it was such a small scale, technically forgettable cast of characters that they could do whatever the hell they want, because everything they did was amazing. And then for some reason, not even 1% of that writing style is translating towards the rest. And the biggest whiplash was Andor to Mandalorian season 3, because that was insane. Like, that was like, you got slapped in the face by like, what the hell are you watching now? Like, it's like day and night. Like, 1 second you're watching this like Andy Serkis going into like a whole like monologue of what it means to sacrifice and all these different things, and next minute you have Lizzo holding Grogu, and I'm like, what is happening? Like, how is this the same universe? And apparently it is. So, and I'm hoping Ahsoka. I'm not expecting Ahsoka to be as good as Andor, but I'm hoping that Ahsoka's in between Obi-Wan and Ahsoka and Andor, like somewhere in that middle ground. And if it is, then it could be value. It's a shame because I like Star Wars when it's concentrated on Jedi and Sith, and it feels like the writing every time they are giving these characters gets worse and worse. Like, why can't they get the Andor writers to do the Jedi stuff? Like, give us something really interesting. Though I heard that the Last Acolyte, that might be the series that we're hoping that these series are.
I don't know.
The one with Daphne Keane, the one with like.
I don't think I trust Disney to do anything right.
Is that a show?
Yeah, it's like a show. It's a new show about like the Sith and like taking place way in the past of like how the Sith started, and like have Daphne Keane, who's like from Logan.
This whole time I thought that was a movie or something.
Yeah, no, that's actually
it's over.
It's a TV series, yeah. And the 3 Star Wars movies we're getting a Rey future movie with Rey, and then we're getting the first Jedi movie with James Mangold directing, and we're getting a Dave Filoni Star Wars movie about Thrawn, and basically say it's the final movie of the Mandoverse. Like, it's culminating everything we've seen.
And there is the problem. The fact there is a Mandoverse is a reason it's failing now.
Well, Mandoverse, like, it's a culmination of all
of these things, but that's not what it should have been, and that's why it's like the first season of Mandalorian, even second season, was like akin to Daredevil Netflix, but now it's become Marvel Disney Plus. Yeah,
well, they want to build up to that. They want that big moment where Mandalorian, Boba Fett, Luke Skywalker, Ahsoka will all stand together and fight Thrawn. Like, they want that to happen, right? And they think, okay, we'll put in the theater.
They're the most overpowered people trying to take down one guy.
No, but he is the big shot, like, based on like
but like
Star Wars EU, like,
he's nothing against Prime Luke and Ahsoka.
No, but that's his big villain.
They're the strongest people in the universe.
Listen, they say they're gonna adopt that, what is called the Wrath of Thrawn or something of Thrawn, right? Like the book in the EU and the original Star Wars like books they made back before they sold it to Disney, like that was about Luke, Han, and Leia fighting Thrawn. Like, it was like one big adventure with all of them. So you could also expect if this is a theatrical movie, then maybe it's gonna be Luke, Han, and Leia all deep fake to oblivion with Ahsoka, and like basically the biggest complaint against Star Wars, specifically Filoni and Favreau, is like it's just everyone taking their favorite action figures and just smashing them together, and that's kind of going to be that movie. That doesn't mean it won't be good. It could be good if the budget's high enough, and I guess if they do the deep fake good enough, maybe it'll be good. But I don't expect much. The only thing that's good about that movie maybe is if the way they're describing it, like it's going to be the who's who of people. So if like we get a scene of Hayden Christensen, Force Ghost, talking to Luke Skywalker, could we value, even though it's going to be so like fake and like done because Luke Skywalker is like
that. That's the only thing that would be good. I don't care how fan servicey it is. That would be like, all right, now it's a good movie.
Yeah, but you see, then you go like, why didn't The Last Jedi do that? Like that would be the moment.
No, Last Jedi didn't need that. Rise of Skywalker needed that. They need all of them to show up. The voices
So
are
that's the
so
only thing.
dumb.
The Last Jedi, you could have picked anyone to talk to Luke Skywalker when he was broken. They picked Yoda, which is fine.
No,
However,
but that's his teacher, you know.
they picked Obi-Wan too.
No, but Obi-Wan's too cynical. Obi-Wan was like, kill Anakin, you know.
And so, but if Anakin showed up to be like, "Hey, we're all in a dark place. You can get out of it," then kind of say, "I guess in that." Star Wars is finished, but and then we'll go in comments saying that the problem is that Lucasfilm, under the grip of Kathleen Kennedy, so that's creativity that George has in spades. And then Fatman jumps in. I'm just excited to see Andor season 2. Yeah, we'll see. Andor season 2 is coming out, I think, next year, so that might be value, but we'll see. I'm hoping Ahsoka picks it up. I mean, we know Hayden did some recording for it, so we'll see. I don't know if it's just voice work or a full appearance, whatever it is. I mean, in the trailer, you hear his voice anyways in new lines that we never heard before. So we know in some sequence he's there. It's just a matter of like how he's going to show up. And I guess us prequel nerds, we just care about that.
That's true.
Yeah. Either way, what do you guys think about Blue Beetle? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And then, do you think that how much pressure is on Superman Legacy? Do you think DC is gonna pick itself up, or is it only gonna continue the downward spiral? And finally, do you think Ahsoka will live up to expectations? Let us know in the comments below and join the debate. From myself, from Zion, from Umar, and from Samir, we're the Farooqi Bros, and we'll see you next time. Peace out.